In 1960, from its first days of independence, the Congo is the scene of death, destruction, ruin. Refugees, saving what they can, escape massacre. Leopoldville is in turmoil. Troops bear down on demonstrators. The Congolese, now independent, turn against Europeans. Violence breaks out. Fanatics inflame the masses. Hate boils over. The Congo drama becomes more and more critical. These pictures shook the world. To protect Europeans on their way out, Belgian paratroops go into action. The United Nations, for their part, intervene and decide to send out UN troops. The mission of these international detachments is to re-establish order and security pending the stabilization of the political situation. But President Kasavubu and Mr. Lumumba are unable to reach agreement, and Colonel Mobutu announces that he is provisionally taking power. This is not enough to make hot heads cool off, and the situation remains tense. From hour to hour, worse threatens. To find a less oppressive atmosphere, you must go up a hill which dominates the city. Here you will find the University of Louvainium, the building of which was interrupted by the crisis. This highlights a catastrophic aspect of the drama. The Congo has no intellectual elite. Not a single Congolese doctor, for example.
Quand serez-vous médecin exactement?
Je serai médecin dans 9 mois, si tout se passe bien.
Et vous serez le premier médecin congolais?
Je l'espère, d'abord parce que mon ami Marcel Chibamba, qui actuellement est commissaire à la santé publique, publique, il aura peut-être un retard de 3 mois.
Et jusqu'ici, Monsieur Ilunga, il n'y a pas encore de médecin congolais?
Jusqu'à présent, il n'y a pas encore de médecin congolais.
It becomes clear why the International Red Cross is in the Congo. Why the delegate of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Mr. Tudikom, and his colleagues are here. This is their center in Leopoldville. The first task is to make the combatants respect the Geneva Conventions, of which the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, is the worldwide promoter. But an equally important task is to bring medical care to a population of 15 million, spread out over a territory 9 times the size of Great Britain. There is not one Congolese doctor. Doctors must be found, and fast, elsewhere. The Congolese Red Cross, hitherto dependent on the Belgian Red Cross, must be speedily helped to become an independent society in accordance with the principles adopted by all the Red Cross societies of the world. Jurists, some specially delegated by the ICRC, draw up the statutes of the new society. Since the crisis has dispersed many families throughout the provinces of the Congo, search for missing persons becomes a major operation. Every day brings its share of inquiries and investigations, often crowned by success. All this work is in response to immediate needs. It has been made possible because in July, at the request of the World Health Organization, the 2 international bodies of the Red Cross, the ICRC and the League, sent out an SOS from Geneva to the national Red Cross societies requesting the urgent dispatch of medical missions. Within days, these began arriving from all continents. They were immediately assigned to jungle dispensaries as well as urban hospitals. Only air transport can ensure delivery in time, for the distances to be covered extend over thousands of miles. The representatives of the ICRC undertake the convoying of valuable cargoes. They also go to visit the medical teams who who are scattered over the most diverse regions of the vast Congo in a relief operation made possible by the generosity of the societies of the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, and the Lion and the Red Sun of these countries: Australia, Canada, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, Finland, the German Democratic Republic, the German Federal Republic, Greece, India, Iran, Ireland, Japan, the Netherlands, Norway, Pakistan, Poland, Sweden, Switzerland, the United Arab Republic, Venezuela, Yugoslavia. At Banningville, which is straddled over the equator, malaria is rampant. Here, doctors of the Czechoslovak Red Cross are at work. There are many contagious patients, and since a sick Congolese is always accompanied by his family, the risk of an epidemic is grave. Congolese medical assistants, although they are not doctors, yet have a degree of professional training and experience which has astonished European specialists. Outside, a few yards from the operating theater, sick and wounded meet and talk, preferably in the shade, where the temperature is over 95 degrees. The women, of course, show off their hairdos. In the maternity ward, young Congolese try out their voices. The color of their skin is still light, but will soon become dark. At Inongo, 3 Japanese doctors work in hospital annexes. Inongo, enclosed on 3 sides by the jungle, opens onto a lake with brownish waters. A new hospital was under construction near the old buildings, but work is now at a standstill. Patients' families have set up quarters in the yard. They will stay there until father, daughter, or grandmother, after treatment, is restored to health and the family. The presence of Japanese doctors so far from Tokyo shows that in the world of the Red Cross, solidarity unites the continents. These men were carefully prepared for African conditions. They are forearmed against the heat of the sun. At the hospital of Coquilletteville, we find the team sent by the Canadian Red Cross. Nurses, as you can see. Devoted women who sleep little and work long. Every instant of relaxation is seized on with high spirits. But these interludes are short, and soon the Canadian nurses are called to attend new patients. At Lisala, the Indian surgeon tells how there was not an inch of surgical thread left. He was able to continue operating by making do with nylon thread given him by a fisherman. Every day, something has to be improvised, for at Lisala, as elsewhere, the hospital overflows with patients. How can 2 doctors and 1 male nurse from New Delhi meet the needs of all? Yet they do so. Seeing the Congolese women pounding cassava or manioc under the windows of the pediatrics wing, before the constant fetching and carrying, among the sick, the washing, the elephantiasis, the incisions of healers, and people nibbling sugar cane, The Indians feel as much out of their element as the Europeans. The Pakistanis of the Red Cross, based on Gemena, also have to make the best of unaccustomed conditions. They are specialists in tropical diseases. But they have all kinds of cases to treat, such as this one, a little girl suffering from third-degree burns. Here begins a story. The story of Mohammed, a soldier of the United Arab Republic who has a bullet wound in his stomach. There is little hope for Mohammed. In an attempt to save him, the delegates of the ICRC decide to transport him in their aircraft to Leopoldville. The wounded man arrives at the airport in a military ambulance of his own country. He has already been operated on once at Gemena and cared for with great devotion, but the local hospital lacks the surgical facilities needed for such a complicated case. With Mohammed is one of his own medical officers. The delegate of the ICRC is going to watch over him during transportation. 2 of Mohammed's fellow soldiers are on board to try and raise his morale. The doctor thinks moving him is risky in the extreme, but it is the only hope of saving him. So Mohammed is operated on a second time, as soon as he arrives in Leopoldville. The operation takes place at Kintambo Hospital in a native quarter of the capital. The doctors at this hospital have been sent by the Swiss Red Cross. The surgeon who operated on Mohammed comes from Basel. But there are also male nurses from Ghana, UN personnel like the sick man, who take turns at his bedside, for his strength is sinking. For the operation, the surgeon has the help of a Swiss male nurse and a Congolese medical assistant. Will this final attempt succeed? We shall not know for a day or 2. Harassed and anxious, the surgeon returns to the headquarters of the Swiss medical unit in the Congo. This very day, a new arrival from Switzerland has been welcomed, a male nurse from the Italian-speaking canton of Ticino. A quick letter to reassure his family in Lugano. The new arrival meets his colleagues. Apart from doctors and male nurses, there is a mechanic and an electrician who can repair anything from a sterilizer to X-ray apparatus. Looking after 20 people is quite a job. It's no easy task for the quartermaster to secure supplies at the local market. Life is expensive. There isn't a lot to go round, and it's not easy to vary the diet. And yet, at mealtimes, presided over by Dr. Beck, now head of the Swiss medical unit, everyone does credit to what turns up: the accoucheur and the surgeon, the child specialist and the anesthetist. A welcome moment's relaxation before returning to the hospital, where there is a continual flow of new patients, victims of disease and of the unrest. At the big Kintambo hospital, the Swiss medical unit operates an important dispensary. Compulsory vaccinations against yellow fever, smallpox, and even typhoid and cholera. Here, members of UN military detachments were first cared for, a task now being carried out by an Indian army team, which enables the medical unit of the Swiss Red Cross to devote all its time to tending Congolese civilians. 3 Swiss pharmacists also work at the Central Medicaments Depot in Leopoldville. This center supplies dispensaries and hospitals all over the country, but following events of recent months, it has had to be put into order again. And assistants have to be trained to carry out urgent laboratory work. Meanwhile, the ICRC continues its activities, ensures fair distribution of sanitary supplies, and installs new medical teams. The Venezuelans, for example, are assigned to Bunia in the east, where unfortunate lepers had thought that they could leave their colonies now that independence had been proclaimed. Close watch is kept over the unloading of cases of serum and antibiotics. The delegate of the ICRC visits the hospital before handing it over to the doctors from Venezuela. And he continues on his tour of inspection. At Goma, he contacts the federal German team after a difficult landing. Then on again to Chabunda. At Chabunda and Kindu, East German doctors tell the CICR delegate of the problems they have had to face. Next stop, Luluabourg. Stationed here are 2,600 Tunisian UN troops under Colonel Lasmar. In this region, Luluas and Balubas have been massacring each other. The young people of the Congolese Red Cross have cared for many wounded, victims of tribal strife. But Africans are, after all, gay people. Dancing to the sound of the tom-tom, a favorite recreation. It helps keep fatigue at bay. In the Chiluba language, Amuchanga means doctor. This song evokes the cry of a wounded man calling for help. Amuchanga! 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 After the dancing, back to a less engaging reality. And back to Leopoldville, our point of departure. At the hospital, as many patients as ever. Not a bed empty, and laboratory work is piling up. The hospital chefs use pili-pili, dried pimento, to improve the staple diet, which usually consists of chikuanga, a cassava dish. Cassava pounded into flour by mothers barely recovered from illness, who refuse to be parted from their offspring for a single instant. the menu. Kintambo, like all other Congo hospitals, is once more a hive of activity. The Red Cross doctors are at work here just as they are in the tropical forest. Regardless of the political situation, they lavish their cares on patients, curing when they can. And here, surely, yes, here's Mohammed, the wounded soldier we left in the hands of the Swiss surgeon. He has pulled through, thanks to the combined efforts of an American, an Egyptian, a Pakistani, and 2 Swiss doctors. Mohammed's stomach bears the scar of the bullets that nearly killed him, but he is definitely out of danger. However, in Leopoldville, traffic accidents claim more victims than political strife. This man, taken away by the traffic police, will be dead before reaching the operating theater. There is much misery in this country at the birth of independence. The Congolese nation, in its agony, is epitomized by this young woman bringing her first child into the world. Recent events have been dramatic, and prospects for the future remain somber. But the child is born, and its arrival deserves a smile and hope. This child, it is like the millions of inhabitants of the Congo. What it needs is to be helped, as the Red Cross is doing, and to be kept from perishing at the moment when life is opening out before it.